Now, I am no relationship expert and I don't claim to be, but I do have experience in relationships, and I know what it's like to feel betrayal or get your heart broken. I know what that's like, and because I have so many guys that have contacted me, and I've never really made a video about it. I thought, well, maybe I'll finally make one, because this is pretty common. So maybe this video should just be for men's ears only. I don't know. I get the feeling if I do a video like this, it might upset some women. I don't really want to say the wrong thing, but I just want to talk to guys about things that I've experienced and how I understand relationship stuff when it comes to relationships ending, having your heart broken. Now, there's this cartoon that I used to watch years ago when I was young, and it was called Popeye. You might know him as Popeye the Sailor Man. Some younger people today know him as, isn't that Popeye? Isn't he the chicken guy? I had a Popeye shirt on at work one day and in my old job, and I asked this boy whose hair I was cutting, I said, "Do you know who Popeye is?" And he says, "Isn't Popeye the chicken guy?" And it made me laugh because young people today don't really know who Popeye is. So, there's that Popeye's chicken place. But then there's Popeye the Sailor Man. And Popeye was this guy that he sailed sailboats, and he always had a pipe in his mouth, and he always had a can of spinach on him. And Popeye had this girl that he was in love with, and her name was Olive Oil. And Olive Oil, she liked to get Popeye jealous, it seemed. There was this guy named Bluto, and sometimes they'd call him Brutus. Brutus. I remember him as Bluto mostly. Bluto was Popeye's rival. And Bluto, he would always go after Olive Oil, who seemed to be Popeye's girlfriend. And Olive Oil, she would return the interest in Bluto. And it would cause Popeye to fight for her. And boy, when I was a little boy, I really got upset. I did not like Olive Oil. I hated that she made Popeye jealous. I hated that she used Bluto to get Popeye jealous. And Popeye would always get into a fight to win Olive Oil back. And he would take quite the beating until, of course, when Bluto thought he had defeated Popeye once and for all, Popeye would whip out his can of spinach and he'd squeeze his spinach can, and the spinach would go flying in the air, and he'd catch it in his mouth. And then he would turn into like a superhero. And he could do things kind of like Superman. So Popeye would beat Bluto up. Olive Oil would be like, "Oh, Popeye," and he'd win back the girl, and happy ending. But I didn't like that. I wasn't happy for Popeye. I thought, dude, why don't you dump her? Quit letting her do this to you. And in my life, there's one thing I'm not going to ever be in a relationship. I'm not going to be Popeye. You know, it seems like a lot of guys, they go through relationships where, I hear this anyway a lot, and it's happened to me before too, where girls kind of give you the ultimatum. Like, hey, you better speed things up, otherwise there's somebody else that wants me. And if a girl ever does that to me, says there's somebody else, I instantly assume that if there's somebody else that wants her, that she's been communicating with this somebody else while we were in the relationship and holding him on the back burner, so to speak, you know, kind of on the side, just in case things weren't to work between her and I, well, he would be there. And I've had this happen to me, and when it does, that's when I say, then you go to him. And I'm done. And I don't contact him anymore. I don't try to chase after her or win her back or anything like that. That's the shut off switch for me. That's when it ends, because I'm not going to do the Popeye game, the Popeye olive oil game. And I don't know about giving you guys advice, but if I have had guys ask me, what do I think about that? Like when a girl does that to them, I mean, I can just only say what I would do. Because most likely if you get in a serious relationship, she might use other men the whole time as a threat against you. You know, if she did it to you at the get-go, well, it might happen again, maybe not. Maybe you've had a successful relationship where, you know, the girl has said, hey, there's another guy that wants me, so you better hurry up. You know, either put a ring on my finger or make a decision what you're gonna do, whatever that means. And maybe you decided to go for it and you have a successful relationship. That's great, but I'm not really talking to guys with successful relationships right now. I'm talking to the men that have gone through heartbreak or are going through heartbreak still. You know, recently I had somebody ask me, because I made a video about, just recently I made a video about how I reconnected with somebody that had broken up with me 12 years ago. And it hurt really bad. You know, haven't spoken to her in 12 years or anything, no contact. And recently we began talking again, but not to rekindle anything. That's not happening. But I just wanted to thank her for inspiring me for my children's book that I wrote, and now it's published. And so I thought it would be nice to just let her know that she was the inspiration for this children's book that I recently published, you know. And I didn't have her phone number or anything like that, but it's really strange because I thought, well, maybe she's on Facebook, you know. And so I went to Facebook Messenger and I typed the first 3 letters of her name, and instantly her name popped up, which is strange. Maybe we have common friends, you know, on Facebook. I don't know. She and I aren't Facebook friends, but maybe she's friends with some of my friends. I haven't really checked. But anyway, so I sent her a message. And eventually she responded and thought that was really cool, you know, and we started talking and stuff, you know, back and forth. And anyway, but we're not rekindling the romance or anything. It was just nice to, you know, like, wow, it's been years and years since we've heard from each other. And so, you know, I was contacted by somebody that kind of went through something similar, you know, because what I say about this girl is she's the one that got away. Boy, what a nice sunset. I don't know if you can see that behind me. See that? That's beautiful. Sometimes the cameras don't pick up on that so well. But anyway, maybe a different angle. I'm in a really nice spot where I live, and the ocean's right over the hill here, and right, a beautiful spot. But anyway, and people always walk out here to see the sunset every night. It's pretty popular for people to come either walk here or drive their cars here and watch the sunset. So somebody had contacted me and said they're kind of going through the same thing, and and actually found out that the girl he was dating, they kind of recently broke up, and he was hoping to reach out and win her back, and found out she's already engaged to somebody else. And that's got to be really painful, I know. And he asked, what do I do? What did I do to get over the pain? How do I heal? And I don't really have an answer for that. Unfortunately, I don't have the only answer I have for that is, man, you gotta. What I did is I didn't figure out how to get over the pain. I just had to go through it, and it took a long time to heal. And I remember trying to date other people, and that didn't seem to help much. You think that kind of rebounding and meeting somebody else, that would help, but for me, it actually didn't. Right? It's almost like the only way I could heal was with time, and go through it and try to live my life and do things like exercise and, pay attention, take care of myself, maybe attempt dating. Eventually I did, but I don't know if that's the answer, how to heal from somebody that you're heartbroken over. I know that a lot of people do that. They move on quickly, and that seems to work for people that lose their pet. A lot of people, they might lose a pet and then they get a puppy almost right away. But, I don't know if that puppy actually, you can't ever replace the pet that you lost, but maybe having a new one, kind of helps a bit with the healing process. And I know people that if they break up, they start dating other people right away. And sometimes they don't break up until they have somebody in line to date, right? Which, if they had somebody in line to date already, I mean, it's kind of like something must have been kind of going on. At least they were entertaining the thought, kind of like what's happened to me before. When I had that ultimatum happen to me, yeah, of course there's another guy. I'm like, then go ahead and move on, And that was it for me. That's when I'm like, I blocked the number. I don't want to talk to her anymore, and I move on. And I didn't move on by getting into another relationship or anything like that. It's where I had to mentally move on. And the healing process, it has to begin. It hurts for a long time, but eventually things do get better. Like recently, people want to know about dating too. And I think with dating, you just kind of, of course there's dating sites and all that. I've never myself done one. I've had people try to get me to, you should get on a dating site, and even kind of help me try to make one. And I just instantly, I'm like, nah, I just don't want to do this. So I give up on it. But I tend to meet people, all the time. And I try to make myself jump out of my comfort zone. And I will introduce myself to people, and I don't go hitting on them. I'll just say something like hello, to start with, and start a conversation. Like, for instance, recently I went out to my pool, and I was going to go sit in the jacuzzi. It was my day off. And this is when I was still working at my job not too long ago. So I went out to the jacuzzi, and it was, middle of the day, and I usually don't go out there middle of the day. It's usually later in the day, but something kind of led me out there around, I'd say it was around 2:30 in the afternoon. And there just so happened to be a girl out there, and she was laying out right next to the jacuzzi on one of those pool chairs, the things that recline. So, I go in there and we start up a conversation. I say hi and stuff, and I noticed she had an accent, and it ended up that she's from Sweden, and she's on vacation in San Diego. She comes out here couple times a year, and she loves to vacation out here. And so in my neighborhood, it just so happens that she rents a what they call an Airbnb. So she was renting an Airbnb, and she had 2 weeks to be there, and I met her like after she had only been here for a couple days. So we start talking, and we have a lot in common. I don't have any children. She doesn't have any children. I thought she was in her 30s. I thought she was a lot younger than me, and I definitely wasn't there to hit on her. just talking, having a conversation like I do with anybody. If there's guys out there, I have conversations with them too. But anyway, so, because she asked me what I do for a living, and I said, oh, I'm a hairstylist, and she says, me too. I'm like, oh, cool, and then she asked me how long I've been doing hair, and I said, well, I started when I was 18 years old. I started going to school for it. I said, and I'm 50 now. I said, so that's like 32 years. And she says, oh, wow. She says, I started when I was 19, and I've been doing it 26 years, so you do the math. And I'm like, you're 45? She says, yeah. And I'm like, wow, I would have guessed you maximum maybe 32, 33. And, and I really meant it. She didn't look 45, and she was actually, a very, very stunningly beautiful person, very beautiful, very attractive. But I didn't hit on her. I wasn't trying to. We just struck up a conversation, and she ends up asking me if there's a gym that I go to around here, and I said, oh yeah, there's one right down the street that I go to. And she says, do they, you think that they sell like memberships, like temporary ones? And I said, I don't know if they do that or not. I said, if you went to the gym with me, I said, I could get you in there. All you got to do is check in there with me, and then you're free to stay there all day if you want. I said, all you got to do is be there at the same time as me at the check-in. And she says, what about tomorrow? So I told her, yeah. I said, I got to go to work. I said, so if you want to follow me to the gym, I can meet you over here by the pool. Do you have a car? She says, yeah, she's got a rental car. So we exchanged phone numbers, and she ended up meeting me there the next morning by the pool. And she followed me to the gym, and we go inside. And it's pretty funny if you want to hear the story. So we go inside the gym, and I show her around, and I like talking to people with accents. I grew up with a dad that had a German accent. Some of you guys have seen him on my YouTube channel. I had him on one of my videos just once. His name's Günther. He's from Germany. Well, this girl, she actually speaks fluent German, fluently, and she speaks Swedish, and she speaks English, and she speaks other languages too. I was like, wow, this girl's very intelligent. Man. So anyway, then I check her into the gym with me, and I show her around, and I said, well, okay, well, have a good workout. And she says, wait, you're not going to work out with me? You're not going to work out with me? And I'm like, oh, do you want me to train you? And she says, no, I want to train you. And I'm like, oh boy, because I'm like a routine guy. I have my workout routine that I stick to. And so now this girl wants to train me, and I'm thinking, all right, okay, I'll step out of my comfort zone. I'll do your routine, whatever it is. And let me tell you, she has me do this thing with kettlebells, and we're on a timer, and we're going nonstop. And I'm like, oh, I feel like, and I really did, I felt like my soul and my spirit were about to detach from my body. I really did. And I was thirsty too, because she doesn't stop to take a drink of water or nothing. And it was by far the hardest workout I've ever done in my entire life. And I'm thinking, no wonder she's so fit like that, 45, and she's just amazing. So anyway, we had a good, crazy, intense workout. I actually collapse on the floor, and she whips out her cell phone and films me. It's even on Facebook. I put it on Facebook. I thought it was funny because she became Facebook friends with me, and so I put it on Facebook. And then the next day she met me again. So she follows me to the gym, and we do this whole thing again. And she wants to film me because I want to remember this exercise she taught me, because it was an intense shoulder exercise, and I loved it. And she's very strict with form and all that. And I thought I was really strict with form, like doing the form right. She's even more. It's just incredible. So she films me doing this shoulder exercise because I wanted to remember how to do it. And she didn't make it a long film, just a little clip. And I even put it on Facebook because I don't do any social media activities very much. And, after publishing a children's book, the publisher says, you might want to do some more social media stuff, get the book out there and all that. And I'm like, man, if you guys are Facebook friends with me, I'm like the worst kind of Facebook friend. You probably wonder why I ignore your posts or anything like that. And the truth is I don't go scrolling through Facebook, right? Maybe once in a great while, I might get a notification or something, which causes me to open the Facebook app. And then I might see somebody makes a post or whatever, like one person that I know that I don't know if they watch my YouTube anymore, but yeah, I think she does. But I noticed somebody's mom had died and I had no idea, and it makes me feel bad a little bit, like, oh man, I hope she didn't think that I was ignoring that her mother had died. But anyway, so that's why I'm embarrassed to be on Facebook as a friend, because I'm not a very great Facebook person, social media. So anyway, but I want to share this experience, I think, because I want to tell you guys, this girl and I, we hung out for 2 weeks. I was going to work and we would meet up like on my day off. We went to breakfast together. And then she wanted to go to these couple different little shops here in San Diego, kind of near the beach. And so I'm like, sure, I'll take you there. So we went there. And then her last night that she spent in San Diego, the very last night, I thought she's going to want to do stuff with the people she knows. There's a lot of guys. When she comes here, she gets asked out by a lot of guys. And a lot of these men want to make her a citizen of the United States, right? So the way to make her a citizen is by marrying her. And this happens to her all the time. She's just a very beautiful person, and I didn't want to be that guy. So the whole time, whenever we hung out, never once did I hit on her. Never once was I even trying to insinuate, like try to reach in for a kiss or anything like that, right? Which makes me realize, like, it is possible for a male and a female to be friends and hang out like friends without having to go a different direction, right? Now, listen, I grew up in religion that forbids everything. Oh, you can't ever be alone with a girl on a date. It's too dangerous. You have to be chaperoned. You might have sex, blah, 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 blah. And, the way I grew up, it was so condemning, and it just made it like hard to ever want to get to know somebody. So what most people do growing up Jehovah's Witnesses is they get married super young, because they're like, okay, I can never be alone with a girl. I have to always be chaperoned. How can I ever get to know the person if I can't really talk to them one-on-one? And then today, can you actually talk on the phone one-on-one without being chaperoned? Let's face it. You've got this stuff like FaceTime and all this where you can see each other over the phone. There's things called phone sex and all that. So would you have to be chaperoned over the phone even? Have somebody watching you because you can't be trusted? And it can go that far. And it's not just Jehovah's Witnesses. I have spoken to guys that are pastors of Christian churches. And not too long ago, in fact, I was talking to this one pastor who, he's in his 30s, and he was raised in a Christian family by Christian parents. And his parents loved him and his brothers and sisters and trained him up right and let him know how much God loves him and all that, things that I didn't hear growing up Jehovah's Witness. And then also, they had a healthy upbringing. They got this guy, him and his brothers and sisters, his siblings, they got to see parents that had a great marriage, right? Now, I hate to share too much stuff about my personal life, because my mom and dad, they're alive still. And, and I don't know if they ever kind of check out my channel or not. Maybe they do. They don't talk about it to me, but I don't want to seem like I'm bashing on my mom or dad. But the truth is, I didn't get a good example growing up of what a healthy marriage life is like, right? Or relationships. So when I started trying to have relationships, once I grew up and got out on my own, I had no clue how to have a healthy relationship. I've never witnessed one. I had to kind of learn this stuff on my own. And it just seems like all my relationships ended up in disasters. Listen, I'm a single guy right now, and I'm 50 years old. So obviously I don't have the best success at relationships. And I'm not saying I'm Mr. Perfect and everybody else are the ones that make the mistakes, and they're the ones that it's all their fault. No, I know when to take the blame. And usually I am the one to take the blame. I mean, years ago, after I went through a divorce with my Jehovah's Witness wife, well, she started off Jehovah's Witness like me, but then she ended up leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses like me also, with me. But, she was having an affair on me, and the affair just never stopped. I found out. We tried to work our marriage out, but I found out that the affair never stopped. So, I just didn't want to deal with it. I'm like, I'm filing divorce, and so I did. And then the next girl that I dated was the first Christian, quote-unquote Christian girl that I had ever dated in my life. And she actually asked me out on a date. And I thought she was beautiful and stunning. I mean, I was really attracted to her. She's just really different. And I mean, she was tattooed, from head to toe. She had tattoos starting on her neck and they went down to her toes. And she's the one that kind of talked me into getting tattoos, right? Because I never had tattoos. I was Jehovah's Witness. Not supposed to have ink markings on your body. The Bible says so. So, oh, by the way, that Christian guy I was telling you about, I kind of got sidetracked. The guy that got raised by his mother and father and had great, upbringing and got to witness a great relationship. And the same with his wife. And in fact, they had similar upbringings. And both of them met at Bible school, Bible college. They went to Bible college to become pastors. So, I mean, that was their life. And he told me that when they were dating, they had never kissed. They didn't kiss until they were married. And they were always chaperoned. So it's not just Jehovah's Witnesses that believe it. There's Christians that do too. But there's some of us that didn't have healthy upbringings, that didn't have healthy family life, and never really learned how to do things, what people call appropriate and all that. So we're kind of on our own with it, and everything in your life is forbidden. And when you see that no trespassing sign, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to trespass, right? It's a fact, right? Don't. You got all these don'ts, and something triggers you to want to do them. So anyway, going back to, where was I before that now, before I get sidetracked? So, yeah, some of us, we just didn't have the right kind of upbringing, and we kind of had to learn things the hard way. And we tend to fail in relationships. And it's difficult. And I was telling you that, when I hung out with that girl from Sweden, nothing happened. And I'm really glad nothing did. I mean, because she's so used to men hitting on her, and because, I mean, her beauty and all that, and she's got a great personality, really nice personality. And so, I was proud of myself, not in an arrogant way, but I'm like, I never hit on her once. And she wanted to spend her last day in San Diego, the last evening, because she was going to fly out early in the morning, on a Sunday. So it was Saturday night after work. I took her to this restaurant, and I just so happened to know the owner of the restaurant, and he owns this restaurant in Del Mar. It's called Pacifica Del Mar, and the guy that owns it, he goes to my gym, and he told me if I ever want to go there, just let him know, and he'll get me great seats, because everybody loves watching the sunset from his restaurant. It's really a famous, popular place to go. So I took her there, and he got me great seats, and got us great seats, and the sunset was beautiful, and we got to see this thing called the green flash. I don't know if you've ever seen the green flash, but it's when the sun starts to set, and it has to be a clear night. You can't have any clouds in the sky. It can't be overcast or anything like that. And you'll see, right before the sun sets, you see this little green thing, right? And then it's instantly gone. Instantly, it happens like at the snap of a finger. And the whole restaurant was applauding and clapping, and we had a really nice dinner. And I never tried to make a move. I wasn't like, oh, you're so beautiful, blah, 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 blah. Because I'm just like, I'm sure everybody does that. But you guys, it's possible to have a healthy relationship, and you don't have to actually hook up, right? And it's actually possible. And I mean, you have to be mature about it. But I just didn't want to. I'm like, I want to just be a gentleman and be a friend to this person and not hit on her. And I don't know if she was expecting it or not, but we had a great evening. And then I said goodnight to her. I hugged her goodbye. That was it. And she went home. And then the next morning, I wished her a safe flight because she had to get a Uber ride from San Diego to Los Angeles and get on a plane from Los Angeles and go whatever stops she had to make to get to Sweden. And that was it. And that was really nice, and I think when you are heartbroken from a relationship and it ended or whatever happened, and maybe like this guy contacted me, like the one he loved moved on so fast, already with somebody else, engaged to somebody else. And that short amount of time, it seems to me, and people, it's hard to hear something like that. It's not a definite thing, but it seems to be most likely that she probably was already communicating with this person. Whether she was seeing two guys at the same time, I don't know, but I mean, I would just kind of guess that she was communicating, but it's not a fact. Some people do meet fast and get engaged, get married right away, fast, especially like I was telling you, growing up Jehovah's Witness. So many Jehovah's Witnesses, they get married fast. I mean, 18 years old, as soon as they're legal age, boom, they're getting married because the rules say you can't even date a girl. You can't go be alone with anybody unless you're married. And sex and all that stuff, I mean, it is like shame on you. You should never even be thinking about that kind of stuff. If you think it's the same as doing it. And so, that strict life, it's difficult. And a bunch of Jehovah's Witness people get married young, right? And another thing that happens is a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, because everything's just so evil and wrong, and there's some people they want to be able to date, but man, they don't like being like chaperoned every second, every minute, every moment. And they're like, how can I ever get to know this person? And because I want to get to know this person, I'm made to feel terrible about it, like it's abnormal, it's what's wrong with me. And a lot of people end up committing suicide over these things, right? Because they're made to feel so much shame for having any type of feelings, attractions for the opposite sex, right? And I don't really know about the same-sex attraction stuff. I mean, I know people say, well, you choose to have, if you liking the same sex, that's a choice. I don't know. I really don't know. When I was a little boy, I remember being very attracted to girls, even at a young age. I had a big interest in girls. I didn't know what it was. I knew it was wrong. I shouldn't be thinking this way, but that was my nature. I can say I was born that way. I didn't learn it somehow. My mom, dad never taught me how to be attracted to girls or anything like that. In fact, it was so forbidden. I remember when I was 16 years old, I wrote a poem to a girl I liked that was a Jehovah's Witness, and I didn't even get a chance to give it to her yet. It was in the drawer, one of my dresser drawers, and my mom found that poem. And I got in so much trouble for writing a poem to a girl, and my mom showed the girl's dad, who was an elder of the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I remember it was really embarrassing. Like I had committed the worst sin, writing a poem to a girl. How dare me, 16 years old, having feelings like that? Shame on you! And I remember it was just so devastating and humiliating because my mom exposed me to her dad, right? And I had known this girl since we were super young. And in fact, I honestly couldn't stand her, right? She was a friend of my younger sister's. But some how when I turned 16, I ended up liking this girl. And she liked me. And I wrote her a poem, and I got so much trouble for it. And it was so shaming. I got shamed for it too. So, I don't know how you grew up. I grew up a mess, and it just seems like my relationships always turn out to be a mess. So I'm not really one to give much relationship advice. But, if I were to say anything, guys that are hurting for whatever happened to relationship, one thing I can say is if you, I was telling you, okay, now see, I get sidetracked. So I was telling you about this girl and that I had started seeing after I had gotten divorced from Jehovah's Witnesses, and she's the one that talked me into getting tattoos and all that. So she was the first quote unquote Christian girl that I started dating. And when we were dating, I found out, and by the way, we started dating, but I still had this, I have to get married fast if I want to be with this girl. I have to marry her fast. Even though I left the Jehovah's Witnesses religion, I still had this thing in me that says, you better get married fast. You better get married fast. And even she was talking about marriage. And we went to SeaWorld together on our first date. And she even told me, she says, man, I wish I was married to you. And kind of put that marriage thought in my head. And I'm like, married to me, be married to me. So I'm thinking marriage. And so I think I proposed to her there. We were at SeaWorld, and she said yes. And it was our first date. And the funny thing is, so we get married, and we got married fast. And guess what? We were married for 2 whole months. And I went to court, and I got the marriage annulled. And the reason we were married 2 whole months is because she was going and cheating on me with other guys. And she was hooking up with other guys the whole time we were dating too. And I find out about it. And you know what she tells me? She tells me it's not her fault because she was diagnosed by a doctor or psychologist or something. She was diagnosed a nymphomaniac. It wasn't her fault. I'm a nymphomaniac. I can't help it. Like, I was supposed to be okay with it. Oh, you're a nymphomaniac? Well, that makes things better. No, that hurt. And the crazy thing is she never apologized to me. In fact, now I'm not trying to bash on women, trust me. And if women are watching this video, please, this is just hear it from a guy. Hear it from a guy's perspective. Because I do have experience in relationships, although they've all failed. But I can say this, ladies. I've probably had a female once in my life that I mean, I'm trying to think of it. I've heard the word sorry before, but I've never had a female actually say that, it was her fault too. Maybe once, if I were to say twice, that's guessing kind of high. Usually it's always my fault. Even the girl, the nymphomaniac, it wasn't her fault. It's my fault that I filed an annulment. And I got the annulment, but it's my fault. It's my fault because I wasn't understanding about her medical issue of being a nympho. I wish you guys could see that. I wish my phone could pick up that sunset better. Man, it's quite beautiful. Just, maybe that. Is that cool? Can you guys kind of see it? How about you watch the sunset while I talk? You don't have to look at me. But I think I've only heard I'm sorry, once or twice. Every time a relationship ends for me, no matter what, the blame is always put on me. And usually I just go ahead and take the blame. And you know what? Maybe most of the time, maybe it is my fault. The blame game stuff, don't think about that anymore and try to figure out who's to blame and who's more wrong. You know, it takes two, doesn't it? But one thing, guys, is don't ever be afraid to say you were wrong. And you know, if you do want to chase that girl that met somebody else, I mean, if you want to do that, then go for it. I know that's not something I've done, and maybe that's why I'm in unsuccessful relationships. Maybe I should chase the girl. Maybe I should have tried to win her back, you know. But me personally, I do not like when somebody threatens me with another man. I don't like it, and I will never, ever, ever try to win a girl over from another dude. That's just not me. I'm not going to play Popeye. I never liked that Popeye did that. If you guys don't know who Popeye is, you can actually go on YouTube and type in Popeye cartoons. And I'll tell you, sometimes I do, and I watch old Popeye cartoons just for memory's sake, and it brings back cool memories because I had a terrible childhood. And things like Popeye, or The Incredible Hulk, or I Love Lucy, those things brought joy into my life. And there goes the sunset. It is going. Oh, there was the green flash. You guys didn't see it, and I did. I bet you didn't see it. Usually cameras don't pick that up. That was beautiful. Glad I got to share that with you. But yeah, that was a green flash. They're actually very common. People don't know that they're common because they don't know what to look for. But you can type it in, the green flash. Maybe somebody has filmed it before. I just know that I've never been able to film it on my cell phone. It never picks it up, right? I've filmed some interesting things with my cell phone. I still have a video of they call them UAPs now. I called it a UFO when I filmed it a few years ago. It's still in my phone. I've filmed them a couple times actually. But you know, my phone never did justice for those things. But you know, it was amazing to watch. They're just very unique to watch things that move like that in the skies. But anyway, if you want to chase after a girl that decided she's going to be with somebody else, you know, that's up to you. But if you want my advice, I just say, well, I wouldn't personally, but if you do, you know, and if you end up winning her over and you guys have a successful relationship and it ends up being an awesome marriage or whatever, that's pretty cool. And I'm sure there's some of you watching this right now that say that is actually me. Or maybe, you know, for the girls, maybe vice versa. You had the guy that you were in love with and he left you for somebody else, but somehow you guys worked things through and you're back together again. Or maybe you dated a girl in high school and you guys had broken up back then, and you know, maybe you got remarried, she got remarried, and over time you both went through divorces in your life and reconnected. I know those kinds of stories too, you know, where guy gets to marry his high school sweetheart. How cool is that? Wow. But as far as how do you move on? I don't have the whole, you know, start a dating app. Go out to your jacuzzi more and meet girls. No, I mean, I say hi to people. I'm a pretty conversational kind of guy, and I don't go up to women and say hi because I'm trying to hit on them. You know, I'm kind of over that. But I try to be friendly and put myself out there, right? And you know, this girl that I met at my jacuzzi, I mean, a beautiful girl like her wanted to hang out with me. I'm like, I didn't know I could get beautiful women like that to want to hang out with me. You know, I mean, I'm not Mr. Confident. And I'm not saying I haven't ever hung out with beautiful women before, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, meet a girl at a jacuzzi and she's super beautiful. And here's this guy, and she's in a bathing suit, and she's probably thinking, yeah, he's just checking me out. But I actually was very careful with my eyes. I was very careful with the way I looked at her. I don't know, men, if you realize people can see where your eyes are moving. Did you know that? If you're looking at certain areas, girls know where your eyes are moving, by the way, just in case you don't know that. So guys, watch how you move your eyes. Be careful about eye contact. And I suggest looking them in the eye when you talk, and keep focused on their eyes, right? And, be a gentleman if you can. And don't rush into things, definitely. Because I've done that too many times. And I'm known to be Mr. Rush into things, fall in love super fast, buy a ring, put a ring on her finger, get engaged right away, only to have it end devastatingly over and over again, right? And like I said, most every woman I've ever been with, it's all his fault. It's him. And if girls want to blame you, just take it then, I guess, Take it, whatever. Let them blame you. But you know what? Don't get down on yourself too long. Even if it was your fault that it failed, what do you get? What's the answer? Beat yourself up forever? I better beat myself up forever. Yeah, I deserve it. No, I mean, what's that going to do? That's just going to lead to super depression. Beat yourself up for forever. What? And then what? Attempt suicide? Hey, listen. I've had girls tell me that I should have killed myself a long time ago. I've had girls tell me they're going to slit my throat. I mean, I've had people go off like you wouldn't believe, making threats like that. Now, I'm not saying I'm Mr. Perfect. I've made my share of terrible mistakes. Terrible. Things I felt awful about. But there's the time where you do have to try to move on. The ones you hurt, unfortunately, usually, in my case, they want me to suffer punishment forever and ever and ever. I've even been told by quote unquote Christian women that I have dated that they hope I go to hell. And they told me I'm going to hell. That's when they stopped believing in grace. They believe in grace for themselves, but not for me, because they earned their grace. Oh, their grace, God gave them grace because they proved themselves to God, so he pours out his grace on them. But you kind of got to earn it in my case, right? And I can't earn his grace, so therefore I'm going to go to hell. And that's too bad for them to think that way, honestly. That's terrible thinking, honestly. That means they have no understanding about what grace is or anything like that, which is too bad. And if they want to live in that anger and hate and all that stuff, it's, eventually it stops hurting me, and it's probably doing more damage to them, tell you the truth, because they got to live with that hate that they're living with, and that's got to be a terrible thing. So, guys, before you can have a healthy relationship, you yourself have to be healthy. And I'm not talking about just physically. You got to be emotionally, mentally, even, spiritually healthy. For me, spiritual health is personally my everything. That's what I want in my life. And I figure if I have a spiritually healthy I'm not saying a religious. Don't get me wrong. I am actually against religion. But spirituality is my foundation. That's first. Spirit. Now, I know one thing about my spirit, and I know one thing about your spirit. It's perfect. It's a gift that's been given to you. It's called your helper. And your helper is perfect, and your helper lacks nothing. It's a part of you that you really need to get in tune with. It's part of you that most of us never have learned to get in tune with, and some people die never having a clue how to get in tune with it. They think getting in tune with their spirit is by going to church and doing religious stuff. That'll help me get in tune with my spirit if I just perform enough. But they really never understand, unfortunately. A lot of people don't understand about who they are in spirit. And when you figure that out, then you can transfer that, right? You want to get your soul now to comprehend that. You want to get your soul tied into the spirit, right? Joining the mind of the spirit, thinking like the spirit, getting in tune with the spirit, your true identity. And that gets into your mind when you start getting your soul into your spirit, when your soul starts to become one with the spirit, then your mind gets healthier. You understand? And then, so now you're connecting to everything, your emotion realm, your mental realm, the spirit realm, your soul, all that. And then even your body, right? Because you want to be healthy, don't you? I mean, if you can't want to have a healthy person if you yourself aren't healthy. So you got to take care of that too. Right? So anyway, I hope this has been an interesting video for you. Maybe it's just me talking a little bit, but I feel for you guys. Really, I do. Because there's a bunch of you that have been reaching out to me and asking for, what do you do? How do you heal? How do you move forward? How did you do it? Hey, listen, I'm still in the healing process, by the way. There's some stuff I'm still not over completely, and I still feel the pain. I've got residual pain in me still right now. And hanging out with that girl, it didn't take all the pain away. It was a nice distraction. I actually had a girl come into my hair salon when I was working there maybe 2 months ago or so. I hadn't done her hair in a long time. I hadn't seen her in a long time. And she's a really pretty girl. And she's a lot taller than me. She's tall. But she came in and asked me out on a date. If you call it a date, she says, "Hey, we should have lunch or dinner sometime." I said, "Yeah," and she says, "Yeah." All right. So she actually contacted me and asked me out to sushi. So we went and had lunch together on a day off and had some sushi. And it was great. We just had a nice little conversation. I mean, to tell you the truth, I think for me, she was just too young, nice enough, taller than me. I didn't feel like we had much in common. But I'm glad that, I got to actually hang out. And once again, gentleman, never tried to talk indecent or inappropriate to her. Just got to know her. And I think getting to know people as friends is great. Just like that girl in Sweden, It's not like I can date her. Lives far away. But getting to know her as a friend, and we still keep in contact, and we message each other through WhatsApp. Because I guess texting through the cell phone, she said, costs a lot of money, and so she talked me into downloading this WhatsApp thing, so that's how I communicate with her. That's not every day, but just how you doing, keeps me posted on what she's doing in life, and she's becoming she's not just a hairstylist, but she's becoming a social media manager, and she's really good at making videos and stuff. I'm like, wow, this person would be great to help me, with editing my videos and all. That would be kind of cool, knowing somebody like that. But I don't know. I have no idea where that's going to go. But anyway, you guys, if you can hang out with women, and if you are mature enough to where, you don't hit on them or try to sleep with them or anything right away, and all, I'm just saying it's good. And my recommendation is get to know them before you move too fast, because I'm talking from experience. I moved too fast. And I remember there was this, I'm going to leave it at this, okay, and make you laugh. So there was this show that I used to watch called Seinfeld. And it was there was these characters, you know. I think you guys know Seinfeld. I don't have to explain Seinfeld, but there was a guy named George on Seinfeld. And George, he was just this guy that, I mean, relationship disaster after relationship disaster after a relationship disaster, and job disasters. I mean, his whole life seemed to be disaster after disaster. He was a funny character. A lot of people liked George. And anyway, George figured out one day that if he becomes opposite, he calls himself Opposite George. If he just did things opposite of what his natural instincts tell him to do, maybe he would have success finally. So he tries it out. And suddenly everything's working out great for him. Relationships, career, everything. I mean, Opposite George was awesome. And I'm just like, maybe I need to become opposite Mike for once. Do things opposite. And so I did with that girl I met at the jacuzzi. You know, I don't know what it is with meeting people. That's not the first time I met somebody at a jacuzzi. And but I was in a relationship before with somebody I met at the jacuzzi, and for many years, in fact. And it eventually didn't end up working out. But I'm just saying, you know, sometimes you might be used to doing things a certain way and it never works. So maybe it's time to do things differently. But you guys, that pain, how to get over it, I don't know. I know you're going to hate to hear that time, but that's the only thing that's worked for me. I just don't seem to heal super duper fast from these kinds of things. So you just got to give yourself time and, go through that pain and endure it. And it is what it is. And I can't say that there's any real way to stop that pain. I haven't figured it out yet. I would say don't drink the pain away, because that won't work. Don't smoke the pain away, because that won't work. Those might seem to be things that you think they help, but they're just kind of like Band-Aids, temporary fixes, but they're not fixes. Honestly, in my opinion, they don't help at all. They actually might make things worse because you're trying to escape instead of face it. So just face it. Face it. Endure it. Embrace it. One day you'll look back at it, my friends. After you've endured it all, one day you'll look back at it, because this happens to me every time. And you'll realize, you know what? I'm actually glad I had to go through that. Even though it hurt, even though it was terrible, even though it was the hardest thing you ever had to go through, heartbreak isn't easy. But when you look back at everything, you realize, you became stronger, you became better through it all. If you allow the process to do what it's supposed to do, if you handle it right. Anyway, I hope this message has helped you. Sorry it went so long. We got to see a nice sunset together though, didn't we? Beautiful. So I hope you all have a great one. I'll pray for you guys. I'll pray for you ladies too. And I love you. God bless you. And I'll see you all next time.